Hey, Garth. Good to see you, buddy.
Jason, nice to be back here with you.
Garth, a question for you today. Have you ever,
Yeah,
what's your favorite animal?
that's a very different question.
Well, no, zoo animal. I want to know zoo animal.
Zoo animal? I really like water, so I'm attracted to like water animals. I would say like a polar bear, believe it or
Nice.
not. It's very much a water animal. But there's always sadness seeing a polar bear in a zoo.
Yeah, it's fair. I like
Yeah.
watching the otters at the zoo because they're so playful. It's joyful,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah, they are.
Isn't it fun just sitting there and just watch them swim around, do their thing? Look
Yeah,
like they're
they
always
seem very
playing.
content in the moment.
Yeah. Today's guest, Garth, brings us all the way to talking about slugs and them mating.
Nice
Is
segue.
that enough of a trailer to get people listening to this whole episode? It's near the end, and we talk about slugs, mating, and leadership. How about that?
That is yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
And Beth is our guest here today, and it's not all joking. We talk about some serious things. We talk about humility and authenticity, and we talk about happiness and sadness and joy. We talk about all natures of things. It's a great podcast, Garth.
Yeah, in fact, the last time I was at the zoo, I was with grade nines. We teach a course called TC9, the challenge. We put them challenge Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations, number 13, which is climate action. We go to the zoo and we go with our Indigenous educational consultant, Mike Carlson, and we look at the zoo through the lens of Indigenous connection. And Indigenous connection is all about being humble.
Yeah.
Indigenous connections are all about being present in the moment. Wow. What do you notice for the first time? What do you notice in your body? Like when you're looking at these animals, and how do you connect with these animals? And it was a really, really special time. And I think one of the things that Beth brings out in this, which I think is super important about humility, is this notion of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, this is a great episode. It's for anybody who thinks about humility or authenticity in their leadership. It's for aspiring leaders and veteran leaders alike. I think people are going to love it.
Yeah, it's great. All right, slugs and all.
Let's get to it.
With Garth and Jason, we dive right in. Breaking down Ted's world, let's begin. From AFC, Richmond's Field to your day-to-day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show. With lessons from Ted, we'll learn and grow.
Hi, folks. Welcome to Season 2 of Lassoing Leadership. I'm your host, Garth Nichols.
And I am also your host, Jason Rogers. And today we are joined by an incredible guest who helps us understand further what it means to be vulnerable and show humility in our leadership and to lean into these things as we're leading.
Yeah, that's right. We're joined by Beth Pillsbury, director of Maybach High School in Berkeley, California. Maybach, there's some great atmosphere and culture in the school. They have a slogan where you're accepted for who you are and who you choose to become. It's a relatively new school. It's established in 1972. Vibrant community dedicated to learning, where all forms of diversity can flourish amid mutual support, respect, and responsibility. And they have small classes, but high expectations, and programs outside the school that prepare students for college and acquire the tools to engage actively and creatively in the wider world.
Garth, that sounds awesome. And I don't want to waste too much more time because I want to get right to Beth. But before we do, I've got a couple more words of introduction for Beth. Beth is a historian, teacher, and ceramic artist. Prior to coming to Maybach, Beth was director of experiential education and summer programs and a history teacher at Riverdale County School in the Bronx, New York. At Riverdale, Beth,
country school.
Country school. All our listeners know this. I'm dyslexic, and I'm trying to read your bio right now, Beth. So I apologize. That's on me. At Riverdale, Beth oversaw experiential education initiatives and dedicated to connecting to academic core, to rigorous, immersive experiences from grade 6 to grade 12. And Garth, you know her personally, so why don't I pass it to you to round it out?
Yeah, I had the privilege of serving with Beth on the board of ICENE, the Independent Schools Experiential Educator Network. I've talked a little bit about this. She actually leads, last episode or a couple episodes ago, I referenced the professional affinity group of leaders leading through change, and Beth is one of the facilitators. She serves as the chair of the inclusion committee on iScene and is amazing. I'm a participant in that leadership professional affinity group. And it's just like the deep breath I crave, like once a month. It's just like, like we can just vent isn't the right word. We can talk to each other about things where people understand where we're at. And it's amazing. But enough of us talking about Beth. Beth, you talk about yourself. Introduce a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Well, who am I? Garth, that was so nice. Jason, thank you for reading that long blank block of text.
Anything for you, Beth.
Thanks. So yes, all of what you said above is true. And I too just love getting to facilitate that monthly iScene check-in. It really fills my bucket. I moved out to the Bay Area this summer, and kind of a bold move to come be a head of a small high school. And I came because I knew that this area is just, I've always been interested in living on the West Coast. It's so beautiful. I love being able to get out and hike regularly right from my front door. And I came because this high school just so spoke to my values. It was a community that centered community in a way that I'd never really seen. It is an inherently kind place. It is a place where diversity truly is embraced, of all different kinds. And so I just, I feel very lucky to have landed at this school in this moment in time.
Well, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, it's great to reconnect with you and have the next 20 minutes with you. So I know it won't be nearly enough time. So why don't we jump in? And listeners, as we always mention, be sure to submit your questions to lastwingleadership@gmail.com, LinkedIn, Spotify, Instagram, or just slip into our DMs.
Amazing. And I think, Beth, where I think this is around humility and authenticity, I thought we'd open with just a question around, what is it like if you're speaking to a new leader and you wanted to say to them, these are the surprises I had moving all the way across country and into a new role. What, early in this process, what are the biggest surprises you've faced, the ahas you've had?
That's such an interesting question. I think I knew that the school community had a real focus on kindness. I knew that the kids were really lovely and intentionally supportive of each other in a way I hadn't seen. And I knew that the staff was really thoughtful. I was pretty blown away by the parent community. I was talking with a longtime head of school, and she talked about the moments at her various schools that she fell in love with her schools. And I think for me, I really fell in love with Maybach when talking to parents about how valuable Maybach has been in the lives of their children. That here, for the first time, their kid felt like they were accepted for who they were. That for the first time, their neurodifference was just a part of who they were. That they were able to just show up fully themselves and just be themselves. And I think that was a huge shift. Moving from a much more competitive East Coast school, New York City, and the shift in the kind of both the culture of the parent body, but also the way that people thought about how school functioned in the lives of their kids. That was a big change.
So Beth, knowing what you know now and what may have surprised you, what advice would you give to yourself or perhaps even somebody else who is about to make that kind of leap? Is there any kind of salient advice that you give?
Yeah, and if I'm thinking about from leadership, the thing that I'm really glad that I did, I came out early. My contract started in July, which I think happens for a lot of heads of school when everybody's off, and my school fully takes off. And so I came out early, and I spent a full week of just back-to-back meetings, listening and getting to know all of the staff, as many of the board members as I could. And that was just incredibly invaluable. This school was founded, it was a teacher-led school. It is very much still a school in which teachers are serving in administrative capacity. And so it was incredibly important to recognize that while I might be the head, while I might serve as the school director, every time you're in a position of leadership, you are working on teams, you're working in community, you are having to manage laterally, and even if you're sitting on top, right? Like you're not really like to bring people along is an act of real engagement and listening, and I think it's about centering relationships.
Yeah. One of the reasons you came first to mind when talking about humility and vulnerability, like there's so many things in your answer, right? And one of the things coming out to me is like time. You spend time, you say getting to know, but also I'm sure there's like building connections there, getting to know how teams work, understanding the culture. And I find that working with you on the board of ICENE over the past few years, that when I'm in a room with you, in a discussion with you, or a meeting with you, you really embody the leadership trait of being a voice for others, lifting up others, never making it about yourself. I find you embody, being one of those like servant leaders, right? A leader in service to others. Can you tell us a little bit, maybe some skills or strategies that you use or that you keep close to you that keep you at the core of your leadership?
You asked me this question in preparation for this, and I struggle because actually the truth is I am very aware of all of the times that I'm leading with hubris and pride, and I'm aware of every time I think quickly. I can sometimes move too quickly, and so when you are talking about that, I have a hard time seeing that in myself because I am so aware of the times that I don't bring people along and then have to come back and do the repair work following. So I actually think it requires just a constant attention, because if you're working in community and you're working on teams, if you don't have that habit of mind, you can't bring along a team, right? And so I think I appreciate that you see that in me because I work at it. I think just as a part of my personality, I'm somebody that can get excited about just about anything. And I love getting to celebrate and listen to and attend to the talents of others. And I think that is just kind of core to my personality. And so I really enjoy that, getting to lift others up when I'm working with them and in teams.
Yeah. And I think too, in your school, and I think this is important because we've talked about this before, Jason, like there's such a critical importance that you are at a school where your values are so aligned. And when your values are so aligned, you can get excited about it. You can celebrate, you can recognize, and what I love how you said this, attend to the talents of others and make sure that those talents are allowed to flourish and express themselves. Brilliant. And you can see in your answer that there is a lot of humility. And I appreciate your vulnerability, saying that there are moments where you operate differently. This isn't something that is always in the way that you lead. And the big piece for me that comes out of this for our listeners is self-awareness, where you're attending to yourself, you're reflecting on how was I in that meeting? And as you said, repair when it didn't go well, or when you recognize that you could do better. I'm so appreciative of that answer, Beth. Thank you.
So Beth, piggybacking off that a little bit, I've got a friend named Carol, and her and I talk often about us being accidental administrators with respect to the fact that we never ever saw ourselves in these roles and carry around a heavy dose of imposter syndrome all of the time, right? And, I'm wondering, as you stepped into because we have a lot of aspiring leaders who listen to this podcast in the Canadian network and some in the American network as well. How does imposter syndrome, do you have it? Do you feel it? And if you do, then what do you do to deal with that kind of in your own leadership? And if you don't, then just ask me what I do to deal with it, because I'm dealing with it every day. So, but no, does that resonate with you? Have you ever faced that?
Well, I mean, I think everybody does, right? Don't we all just feel like we're imposters all the time? I think I'm still, to be honest, right? I'm in my first headship, and I'm less than a year in. And there are moments where I have to recognize I'm the head of school. I think
Right.
I think that there are moments where it's not even imposter syndrome. It's really recognizing the way that when you're in a more mid-level management or you're a teaching faculty, you are not necessarily, you just get to kvetch with your peers. You
Hmm.
get to interact in ways that are different when you are the head, because people are looking to you. They're looking to what you're thinking. They're looking to understand what's going to happen with the future of the school. And I actually think one of the challenges for me, I am a verbal processor. And so I have, one of the things I did in all of my early meetings, and I continue to do, is try to let people know I'm a verbal processor. So sometimes I'm
Yeah.
just talking through ideas, and then also really flag, like let people know where I am. Like, this is like a moment where I'm just looking to ideate, and I'm not like, this is not directive. I'm in an ideating moment, and I want other people's ideas. I need to brainstorm and to really name where I am, because I recognize my impact is different in this role. And so I think that's, it's less imposter syndrome. I think I haven't even figured out that I'm in the imposter yet.
And I think that's so entirely true. Like, I think as we move through leadership, we have these different levels of responsibility. And when the buck starts to stop with you, then everything really does change with your, I guess, with your thinking. And I love the way you have identified that knowing yourself and expressing that to others in a really explicit way is a helpful way to lead. I'm just wondering, where do you turn to when you're struggling with the decision now that you're head of school? This is kind of rarefied space. What's your strategy for that?
Well, I think this is where you need a really good board of directors that you really trust, that you can talk through things with, right? I think that's incredibly important. I'm also really grateful. My school allowed me to have a leadership coach, and she wrote the book on small school governance, Brooke Carroll, and we meet every 2 weeks, and she is so wise and thoughtful, and is constantly giving me just incredible resources. And then I think my senior leadership team, you just have to trust the people that you work with to really talk through those things and to lay out, like, here's the conundrum. And often, like, the conundrum when we're in schools, right? Sometimes there's no clear path, and we just need to figure out the conundrum and to recognize that's where we are. Like, there's not going to be any just one rosy right answer. Like, it's all a little tricky.
And I'm picking up a little bit that you are the head of school, but you're trying to build, or maybe you already have this notion, like, we're all in this together. You mentioned teachers take up some responsibilities of administration and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about, maybe go back, tell us a little bit about that time you spent in July, August, maybe at the start of the year. What did you find yourself doing in the first few months in this new position, in this new school?
Well, that's interesting. I think there were a few things. One, as a mentoring into teams, it was just trying to understand how this school worked, right? Being in meetings and trying to, like, understand the rhythm of the school. But I think when you're the head of a school, that board chair relationship is just incredibly important, to be able to be honest and vulnerable and talk about where there might be issues that are coming up for the school, right? That has to be a relationship that you're really confident in. And the truth is that I wasn't sure how to engage in conflict with my board chair when we started. She is a lovely, thoughtful woman. I think one of the things that is true culturally of San Francisco is that it's a little bit more passive. When you're at the grocery store, it's a little bit more passive aggressive. I came from New York. We're just aggressive. And so, like, we're pretty direct. And so I really didn't know how to engage in conflict and have difficult conversations with her. And there were these moments of kind of like some early friction, and we were able to work through one really by talking about our communication styles and then just really naming it. And I think I'm actually really grateful that we had this kind of minor moment of conflict that allowed us to develop real trust in the other, and to be able to be honest and open and vulnerable. And I think that I'm just really lucky that I do have that relationship with the board chair. I think for aspiring leaders, I can't imagine for my own self working at a school that didn't align with my values. Like I would have really struggled if I didn't like the board. I would have really struggled if I thought that like, oh, like I like about 50% of this culture. And so I think perhaps some people are able to navigate in places that isn't true, like that they're able to kind of not be as aligned. But I think for me, that was just core.
Yeah. So Beth, I think you've hit on a couple things I'm really curious about. So I think when we talk about authenticity in leadership, I think it's having this like authentic relationship with our core emotions and being able to share them with the people who are around us. I think that's the very core of authenticity. You've really hit on conflict, or like, it would be attached to like almost an anger emotion, but that's real. That's who we are. And like, I have moments with everybody in that way. But I mean, I think the other emotions that are like core to us are like that idea of like sadness, but also joy is really core. And one thing I know about you, just getting to know you for a very short amount of time, is that you're very joyful. Like we spend a lot of time laughing leading into this podcast. I'm just curious, what brings you the most joy in your leadership, in your school, or just in leadership in general? What are your joy triggers?
Getting to hang out with the kids, that's the joy trigger. Like, oh my gosh, they're so hilarious and funny and smart and thoughtful. And can I get political on this podcast?
Oh, sure you can. Yeah, we are open.
Okay, so like we just had this big election in the United States that
we heard about it, but it came over the telegraph. We're not sure exactly what.
And so at Maybach, we have such a high number of students that identify as trans and LGBTQ, and so this really hit really hard. And so that week I really cleared my schedule, and just wanted to be available for folks that needed me. And so that was both for staff, for students, and for parents. And we had our founder died this summer, and we had the weekend before the election a memorial service for him. And we had all of this leftover food. And so I pulled out of the freezer and out of the fridge these, what we called the funeral cookies and the funeral fruit. And it felt like this very appropriate symbol, but it became this kind of lovely, like just gathering around and eating food. I sometimes sub for the hiking class, and it.
Of course you do, Beth. Of course you do.
And, sounds like a terrible gig.
It's terrible, and all we do is just like walk around Berkeley, and it's just wonderful, and it's so beautiful. And I spend a lot of time last Thursday afternoon talking about animal reproduction. And let me tell you, one of the most delightful experiences in my life was watching two slugs mate on the back of this house I was staying in Western Pennsylvania. And to be able to talk about that experience with high schoolers, oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
Right?
We got more than political on that one, Beth. Got more than political.
Well, I think the lessons are many in that. And I think, honestly, like one of the things you said, Beth, so important is that we faced tragedy, wasn't an American election, but something else at one point. And my board chair at that time said, Jason, clear your calendar because you don't know what's coming. And this is your number one priority. So just be there with people. And I think like that's a really valuable lesson for leaders is one, your time is really, really valuable and you need to put it which place is most important. So when you're facing something like that, and I love the way you've leaned in that and you found joy, in these two events that could be seen as tragic, and I think that's really a remarkable leadership move. So congratulations, Beth. That's a very cool story. And to weave slugs it, come on, you're a killer when it comes to storytelling. Well done.
Yeah, I mean it's really significant that you're talking about how you've been spending your time, and I love that both of you have talked about just the ability to clear your calendars, prioritizing others, right? I think that's such an important part of leading with humility is to say the things that I am responsible for are not as important right now as being there for the community. And I love, Beth, that you're recognizing and learning to recognize yourself in this role and the impact that will have on your community, right? And that's about self-awareness. But how we spend our time is a function of humility. And I love it. And as we wrap up, you've mentioned a couple of people that you look up to. And I think I would just say as we wrap up, thank you for spending this time with us because you're on the West Coast. Jason's in Calgary. I'm in Toronto, all in different time zones. You've had a lot on the go. So thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Well, thank you. Oh, wait, are we ending?
Not yet. Jason's
Not
got
yet.
some
Okay.
reminders. Not so fast.
Well, I do have some reminders. And as a job request, if you've got a hiking course, you need to send me the job postings when they come open. It sounds like a pretty dreamy gig. We don't have that, nor even in like right next to the mountains. So you're doing something right out there.
Jason,
But
Jason, there's an opportunity.
Right, totally.
Right
before we
into
go-
your job description.
Before we go, I want to remind our listeners that we are taking questions. So if you have questions about vulnerability or humility and leadership, we're happy to hear them, and we'll take them up on the next episode, the third in a triad of all of our episodes, because we're here to support you along your leadership journey as we're continuing along ours.
Yeah. So that's a wrap. Thanks for listening, listeners, and be sure to like, subscribe, tell your friends, etc. Beth, can you do the honor of taking us home?
Now it's the end. Okay. Until next time, keep leading the lasso way.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks,
you
Beth.
so much, Beth. Thanks, everybody.
With Garth and Jason, we dive right in, breaking down Ted's world. Let's begin from A.
Jason, that cold open was that was a stretch. What's your favorite zoo animal to slugs?
Well,
Slugs aren't in the zoo.
I know, but I guess they're probably not even animals, are they? I don't know.
I don't know what to do with this cold open, but I'm sure our listeners will. So I just really appreciate you in these moments, man.
Oh man, it's been a good afternoon. They just get better. The podcast will get better.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Step up to the mic, it's time to play. Lassoing leadership every day. From the pitch to the boardroom, lessons call to mind. Keep leading the lasso way, you'll find. We've got heart, we've got soul, and humor too. Exploring how Ted shows what leaders should do. With Garth and Jason, we dive right in, breaking down Ted's world. Let's begin from AFC, Richmond's Field to your day-to-day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show. With lessons from Ted we'll learn.